my name is Shanicia Boswell, and I'm the creator of Black Moms Blog, where we talk parenting, culture, and lifestyle from a Black mom's point of view. So I am a full-time blogger, which is a interesting career because it takes on many different hats. We run a repost Instagram page. I do meetups around the world, and we have a blog site that's dedicated to Black parenthood that was basically created to show positivity when it comes to Black parenthood on the internet. Ooh, that's a question. Who was Shanicia before the baby and the blog? I was a college student trying to find my way. So I remember I moved up here from Warner Robins to attend Georgia State University. And I remember being in my college courses and feeling like everybody around me just had this great idea for what they wanted to do with their life. And I just didn't know. I was so confused. So being the Pisces that I am, I traveled, I went to Egypt, I came back and got rid of my phone for months. And I was just trying to find myself, I think. So I went through a lot of different phases, and I eventually was like, okay, I'm coming more into who I am. And so that for me was being a writer. I had always been a writer, but I hadn't quite pursued it at that point, but it was a direction that I knew that I wanted to go in. It was tricky. Like, I always relate being pregnant in your 20s. I don't know how old you are, but being pregnant in your 20s is like being pregnant at 15 years old or 16 years old. It's like being pregnant in high school again, because I feel like people just aren't having kids anymore. And so I was the first among all of my friends really to have a baby. And I was just confused. I didn't know how to feel. I felt like my life was changing. And when you're pregnant, it still feels like you're going to be able just to jump back into it. And then that baby comes and you realize it's not like that. So I won't say I lost a lot of friends, but our relationships changed. Those dynamics changed because, you know, they didn't understand. Like, I couldn't just go out and hang out with them, but none of them would ever even come to the house. And so I realized, I was like, I need to find new sets of friends that understand how my life has evolved now, and understand that my friends that I used to have, there's a time and a place for that, but it's no longer my mainstay. So Black Moms Blog is my second business. My first business was in skincare. It was a company called Yayo's Organics. And so with that company, I did everything, right? I was creating body butter, I was vending, I was running the social media side of things, and it was so much. But the thing that I really took from it was I liked the fact that I could be here in Atlanta, post something on Instagram, and somebody in Nigeria would see this post. And so I really started to research the marketing side of things and getting involved in creating viral pages. So when I decided to do Black Moms Blog, I realized there was absolutely nothing on the internet that really existed in the realm of how I wanted to create this and envision this entire process. So I started it off as a repost page, and I built my first website, which was horrible. And so as time started to go on, I ended up making great connections. I got someone else to build my site. And so at this point, the site has been redone about 3 times to where I'm finally like satisfied with it. But it was trial and error, you know what I mean? And so for blogging, I got started by being consistent. You know, I posted every 3 to 4 hours every day. And it's been 3 years later and I still do that. And so it has been a journey of teaching me consistency, teaching me patience, teaching me endurance, and also just being able to connect with the other moms. So that's kind of how it all got started. My advice would be to mothers is to not be so hard on yourself. We're so hard on ourselves. We think that we're supposed to, like I said, have a baby and jump right back into the game. And it doesn't work that way. So hold space for yourself to find time to heal, find time to get back to normal. And then when you do find yourself getting back to a place of normalcy, don't forget about your self-care. Because when you become a mother, everything becomes about child, partner, baby, and you lose that side of yourself. So just trying to remember to write out a plan, but don't put yourself on such a strict timeline as to when it can happen. Just do what you can do in the time that you can do it. Not looking back has helped me to move forward, because a lot of times as women, we look back and wonder why certain things didn't work out. And you're like, you see people that are happy, and you're like, well, what is she doing different? Why am I not getting that, you know, that happy ending that I want? And so for me, that status was definitely based on relationships. And as a successful Black woman entrepreneur who's also millennial, I would date men, and men always would try to own success, right? And you hear them say it, they'll be like, oh, you know, I dated this woman and now she's here in her life. She's doing this well. And I just had this thought. I was like, well, harnessing my own power means that I'm a game changer too. So after you date me, you're going to be different too, right? And so that helped me to stop looking back, because I know my own feelings, but rarely do we really think about how we have an effect on other people. And so I'm like, I'm not looking back anymore. If it didn't work out, it didn't work out because I didn't want it to, because when I want something, I'm so determined to do it, and it always works out. So that was the point of that statement. Stop looking back. Like, if it didn't work out, it wasn't supposed to work out. So this is such a heavy topic. I'm gonna try to say it real quick, okay? It's important to teach children to use their voice, especially in the Black community, right? A lot of us are raised in time frames where we heard that. Be seen, not heard. Don't speak up. Be quiet when adults are talking. Don't interrupt. Don't do this. And it's all these negatives, like don't. And granted, I'm all about teaching respect, but as the mother to a little Black girl, I refuse to silence my child. Now, she's a very respectful person, but to me, letting her make choices is so important, and teaching her early on that her voice matters. Before I do anything with her hair, before she gets dressed, I ask her, how do you feel about this? I give her the chance to tell me how she feels, and it opens up that communication. And for me, she's about to be 6 years old, but at some point she's going to be 15, 17, 25. I want her to feel like she can always come to me and openly talk to me without judgment. So I feel like we have to start teaching children to be open and honest, and as adults, learn to deal with our emotions so that we aren't reacting harshly to them when they are actually just coming and opening up and talking to us. So it's not the easiest thing to do. I check myself daily. Sometimes she'll say something to me and I'm just like, girl, go over there and be quiet. And so I have to, it's a constant check. Like, no, let her express herself, but always do it in the perimeters of being respectful. So I teach my daughter manners. If you want something, you need to say please and thank you. You need to be kind to all people. You need to be respectful and polite. Don't speak when others are speaking. Wait your turn and then say, excuse me. So I think that there's ways that you can teach them and train them how to be respectful, but never silence their voice on expression. To me, silencing a voice, whether it be a man or a woman, a child, or anything, when you don't know how to express yourself, you don't know what you require. You don't know what you're supposed to have because you don't love yourself, right? And I strongly connect the two. And I think that when a woman especially learns how to express herself, she learns what to look for in a man. She's not going to let a man use her. She's not going to look for competition in women. She's going to understand that self-love, me expressing myself, I can openly ask for what I want. And if I can ask for what I want, then I can receive what I'm asking for. And so teaching a woman, especially to use that voice as a child, opens up so many possibilities for her. So I do think that as women, men learn opposite as us. They learn from the beginning to be assertive. They learn how to express what they want. They learn how to say their needs up front. And a lot of times we're like, oh my God, y'all are so bold. And how could you do that? And how could you ask that question? And we're kind of sitting back. And so it's time, I believe, for us to teach our daughters to use their voices, state their needs. And if they're not getting what they need, they're going to go the other way. So that closely relates to love and self-love and starting relationships and things like that. So when I was maybe halfway through starting Black Moms Blog, that first half year, my daughter's father and I, we had been together for about 5 years, coming up on 6 years at that point. We were engaged for a couple of years, and we just had a lot of issues in our relationship due to lack of communication and really just trying to make things work because we had a child. And so he came home one night and was like, you got 30 days. I'm moving to New York. I'm canceling the lease. You and Cam got to figure out where to go. And so at this time, I had been a stay-at-home mother for the last 4 years, and I wasn't doing yayos because I was focused on the blog. So I had like a little income coming in, but I mean, it was $200-300 every couple of months from partnerships at that time. And I was just like, what are we gonna do? And his response to me was, move back with your mom. And I'm like, you didn't get me from my mama's house. You don't get to send me back to my mom's house. And so for me, it was a hard time because we were unhappy for so long, but because of the circumstances and being in those circumstances for so many years, I didn't think that I could do it on my own. And when I think about why women stay in relationships that don't work, that's why. It's hard. Like, apartments are expensive, transportation. I'm like, how am I going to raise my child, take care of myself, and do this all as a single woman, right? And so, yeah, we broke up 30 days to the date. I was out, I had some amazing friends out in Kennesaw that allowed me to come live with them. We moved in with them for 6 months. And in those 6 months, I knew I had to get to work, right? And so I started to monetize my blog. And within 6 months, I had monetized it up to about $16,000. And I moved back into the apartment that he kicked me out of. He was on the 11th floor. I was on the 4th floor. And it was hard. It took us, it's been 2 years now. It's taken us at least a year and a half of getting on terms where we can peacefully co-parent. We get along great. He is somebody that I can confide in and talk to. And we work well together when it comes to parenthood because we both understand that our daughter will always come first. So it's been a real journey. That's been a lot. Asking questions. So I do get asked that question a lot. How do you gain partnerships and partner with these brands and get them to start writing checks, right? What I always tell people is when you're starting a new business, if you're starting a blog, whatever it is, professionalize yourself first. Go through the legalities of getting your LLCs, get your trademarks, create a media kit, create a rate card, create all these things so that when you contact them and they say, hey, can we have ABC? You're like, oh, boom, here you go. You're not having to search around. So when you take your business seriously, other people will take your business seriously. So that's one tip. My second tip is to pitch yourself constantly. And this is something that as the blog has gotten bigger, I need to work on because I've gotten kind of complacent with them. Like, well, they'll come to me. But when I first started out, I was sending out pitch emails, 20, 30 emails a week. I was pitching 5 and 6 different companies a day. And pitching is like writing a research paper. It's not like, oh, I want to work with you, because you have to really explain what you're doing. And so that was one thing that I did as well. And then I started contacting moms on Instagram. I would just send a DM and say, hey, can I interview you? What do you think? And they either say yes or no. And so I got way more yeses than nos. And I started collaborating with other bloggers, other moms, other women. And that's why will forever be collaboration over competition. Because when you see it that way, you limit yourself. And when you look at the other woman and say, well, we can both build this together if we just work together, it grows. And so Black Mom's blog was solely built on the fact of collaboration over competition and steady work ethic, consistency, and asking you questions that you may say no to, but if you say no, somebody else is gonna say yes, so it's okay. It's okay. So because my platform is called Black Mom's blog, I get called, it used to be way more frequent in the past, I get called a racist a lot, right? And so what I started to realize, because at first I would try to explain like really in detail when a white woman would come to me, or white men, because you'd be surprised how many white men would come and attack me too. And they say, well, you're racist, you are excluding people, so on and so forth. And so I would take the time to give them this deep, long explanation of this platform was not created as an exclusion place. It was created so that we can be included. Because if you go on these white platforms that are repost baby pages, you can scroll for 10 minutes and find one Black child, but you're not fighting with them. And so what I came to realize was that people are offended by the word Black. There are Asian mom blogs, you go to Mexican restaurants, you go eat Chinese food, you go do all these things, but as soon as the word Black is put in front of it, they're like, oh no, there's an issue. And I kind of determined it's because they don't think we have culture. They respect everybody else's culture but ours. They say, well, you're American, assimilate to our culture, but things are different. Hair care is different. How we raise our children is different. The types of foods we eat are different. It's just different. And so they don't know how to respect and understand that. So yeah, I get called a racist. I had a lady attack us yesterday. I had somebody attack us on the live. And even after I explained it to them, they still weren't hearing me. And so a lot of times when white people come at us that way, they don't really want an explanation. They just want to open up the racist conversation so that they can spew hate and talk about the things that they hate about us. And that's what happened yesterday. I told her, I was like, hey, go look at this video. I explain why it exists. She responds back about Obama creating racism. I'm like, you were just waiting to say that, weren't you? You had to get it out. You needed the place. So I just call them trolls. I'm like, there's no way you've ever read our blog, been on our platform, or came to a meetup and will still have the decency to say this is racism. We don't down anybody on our platform. We're just uplifting ourselves. So my greatest advice to give the other entrepreneurs is stop watching other people, right? Especially with Instagram. Instagram created nothing but narcissism. It created a place for people to post all their good accomplishments. It created a space for people to post all their pretty pictures. Even when they're hurting, it's so, beautifully captured that you're like, are you really in pain? And so we watch other people and we're like, well, why am I not where they are? Why am I not as successful as them? Why am I not being able to be invited to these events? And you don't know what happened in the background to cause those things to happen. You don't know how that person's in pain. Because I've been mom blogging for so long, and the depths of how deep my blog goes, I work with a lot of mom bloggers, and I can almost spot it. I can see the mom blogger who her page is beautifully curated and she's getting all these likes, and I can see, I'm like, this girl is struggling. She's tired. She's exhausted. There's no way she's keeping up this way and is still being okay. And I know that because I've been there. I've had to blog through crisis and blog through things like that. So I would just say don't watch other people. Do what you do and let that be it.